Okay, this week is very similar to last week. These are classifying 2D figures. So it's very similar. If you remember the shape that I drew last week that looked like a Ninja Turtle, that'll help you with most of this this week too. The IXL lessons I do first because they're really easy and gives you good background before you do the iReady lesson. So do IXL first. There's like 3 lessons in that. So if you remember, I drew a big P, but I'm gonna skip the P. The P stood for a polygon, but I'm gonna start with a Q. Q, of course, means quadrilateral. A quadrilateral is any 4-sided polygon. Then inside, I would draw a trapezoid for the mouth, which is kind of doesn't work for the iReady view of a definition of a trapezoid, but for right now, let's first just put our trapezoid down here as the mouth. A trapezoid definition is it has 2 sides that are parallel. And then I draw a mask, and this mask for the Ninja Turtle looks like a parallelogram. Then inside, and so what this means is a trapezoid is a quadrilateral because it's inside of it. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral, okay? Then inside the parallelogram, one of the eyeballs is a rectangle. Because a rectangle, if I can write rectangle so you can see it here, is a parallelogram because opposite sides, see a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. It's got to have 2 sets of parallel sides. A trapezoid only has to have 1, but a parallelogram has to have 2. Well, a rectangle has 2, also has 90-degree angles. So inside that eye, put a little pupil, and the pupil is a square. I don't think I can fit square in there. But a square is a rectangle, a square is a parallelogram, a square is a quadrilateral. A square is a rectangle with 4 equal sides. Then on this side, I draw another eyeball, but I make this eyeball a rhombus. And a rhombus has 2 pairs of parallel sides, but it also has 4 equal sides. You see, the parallelogram doesn't have to have equal sides, but a rhombus does. And then inside the rhombus, you draw a square. SQ, I'm just going to abbreviate the SQ. Because a rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides. Well, a square is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides, but it has to have the right angles in it. So I probably should at least draw a couple of those in there. All 4 of them are right angles. So I know that's looking a little bit more complicated, but that will help us with some of the questions this week. Now, iReady has a different view about this. They say that the trapezoid, because the trapezoid has 1 set of parallel sides, that means that all of these shapes inside this trapezoid are trapezoid, because all of them inside there have at least 1 set of parallel sides. Parallelograms have 2 sets, trapezoids only have to have 1 set. So that may be confusing, so just be prepared that you have to do some little extra thinking there. So let me just throw out some questions. These are some of the questions when I went through the lesson. It says all parallelograms are, and the answers are rectangles. Well, if you look up here, or the choice is rectangles. Well, not all parallelograms are rectangles. Now, rectangles are parallelograms, but parallelograms aren't always rectangles, so that's no. All parallelograms are rhombuses. All parallelograms, no, they're not. Rhombuses are parallelograms, but parallelograms don't have to be rhombuses. And then it says all parallelograms are squares. No, all squares are parallelograms, but see, the squares are inside the parallelogram, but the parallelogram is not inside the square. And so the only choice that's right there is all parallelograms are quadrilaterals. And if you see, look, the parallelogram is inside the cube, so it is a quadrilateral. Then some of the questions talk about what's the most information or like the most specific that you can call a shape. So if we had a shape that looked like this, look, it has all parallel sides. And let's say that all sides are equal. It just doesn't have 90-degree angles. So is it a quadrilateral? Yes. Is it a trapezoid? Well, by the definition that iReady gives, because it does have at least one pair of parallel sides, it is a trapezoid. Is it a parallelogram? Yep. Is it a rectangle? No, because it doesn't have the 90-degree angles. Is it a square? No, because it doesn't have the 90-degree angles. It does have equal sides though. And is it a rhombus? Yes. And this is the most like specific or the most information that you have to identify that. So that will be some of your questions too. You know how we said something about all parallelograms or quadrilaterals? One of the questions may be too, are all parallelograms trapezoids? And the answer would be yes. As far as iReady goes, it would be, because look, it does have at least one set of parallel sides. All right, so now let me kind of draw some shapes and let's just talk about those shapes, kind of like we just did with that one. Okay, so let's draw like a shape like this. It has parallel sides, 2. It has 4 sides. So is it a quadrilateral? Well, it's got 4 sides. Is it a trapezoid? Well, yes, because it has at least one set of parallel sides. It has 2, but iReady says it's a trapezoid. Parallelogram, obviously. Rectangle, no, because it doesn't have the right angles. Square, no. Rhombus, no, because rhombus is a parallelogram with equal sides, and you can tell these sides are longer. Okay, so the most specific name or most information on this one, probably you would call it a parallelogram. Okay, let's try another one. If you had a shape like this, is it a quadrilateral? No, because it's a triangle. Is it a trapezoid? No, it can't be any of these because these are quadrilaterals. They have to have 4 sides. That only has 3 sides and 3 angles, called a triangle. All right, what about this shape? It's got all equal sides. It's got 90-degree angles. Well, it's a quadrilateral because it's got 4 sides. It's a trapezoid because it has at least one set of parallel sides. It actually has 2. It's a parallelogram. It's a rectangle. It's a square. And it is a rhombus because a rhombus has 4 equal sides. It can't even have the 90-degree angles. So that one is all of those. Most specific though is square. Then what about this shape? Got 90-degree angles, got parallel sides. So it's quadrilateral, it's got 4 sides. It's a trapezoid because it's got at least one pair of sides that are parallel. Both sides are parallel. It looks like a rectangle. It's not a square because the square has to have 4 equal sides. It's not a rhombus because a rhombus has to have 4 equal sides. So these 2 are X's. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you with your lesson. Maybe if you'll kind of draw this diagram, maybe a little simpler than that, it may help you. I can redraw it again right here at the end. Another thing I thought was interesting, one question says something about diagonals in the lesson, and I can't remember, it says something about in a rectangle, the diagonals are the same length. Well, we haven't really talked about diagonals much this year, but a diagonal, you know, connects the corners or the vertices from opposite sides. So this is a diagonal and this is a diagonal. And if I drew that better, you could hopefully tell that they are the same length. They wouldn't be in all quadrilaterals, but they would be in a rectangle. All right, so just to kind of review before I turn off this video, I'm going to quickly redraw the Ninja Turtle to help you remember quadrilaterals. So you start with, let's start with a big Q. That means quadrilateral. Then let's not draw the trapezoid mouth here because iReady doesn't feel like that is the correct way to identify this. You do a parallelogram for the mask, rectangle for an eyeball, square for the little pupil, rhombus for the other eyeball, square for a pupil, and then what's gonna look kind of weird is put a trapezoid around it all. So you can, if you have a question, you should be able to kind of think of this diagram or look at this diagram and answer it. So if it says, is a trapezoid, is a trapezoid a quadrilateral? You'd say yes. But is all quadrilaterals a trapezoid? No. So it's got to be inside of the other shape for it to be one. So is a square a trapezoid? Yes. Is a square a quadrilateral? Yes. Is a rhombus a parallelogram? Yes. Is a rhombus a trapezoid? Yes. So hopefully this diagram will help you. It's pretty tough. You know, I know even sometimes they say a 71% is not passing, but I think a 71 would be good on this quiz. So, you know, do what you can do. Take it twice if you need to. Email me and I can reassign it, and you can take it even again. I can help you with some of the questions. So good luck.